This is the Limo Show.
This is not another story. This is not another drill. I refuse to be another number.
Today I have a guest called Ryan Hendrickson. He's a real expert in health and in energy, and he's going to share with you, I'm sure, lots of interesting insights about all that. So welcome, Ryan. Welcome here.
Hey, what's up, Limo? What's up, guys? It's awesome to join you on today's episode. And
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled, man. I want to hope that everybody gets some impact out of this, and just to open you up to new possibilities, because I know this is something that a lot of people are struggling with, not just in dating, but also their own professional lives, their own personal lives.
Yeah. So tell us, Ryan, what's your story? Like, how did you start? Like, what's your story?
Sure. That's a pretty interesting question. I could go on for 45 minutes about it, but
the quick one.
Short story long. I grew up in martial arts, mixed martial arts, training extreme sports. When I was 14, I got cancer, and the next year I had meningitis. So I fought that through my teenage years. And then I kind of had a choice, like, hey, do I want to be like most people sitting on the couch, feeling sorry for myself and wondering why me? Or, hey, do I want to really, really go deep into health, fitness, human performance, psychology? After high school, I jumped into a fitness coaching career. I had a huge opportunity. I opened up a huge gym in New Jersey, actually. It's where I'm from. And it was great, but what I noticed is that none of my clients were losing weight. I was training all these people, and then I found out that they were giving my clients weight gainer shakes at the at the juice bar. So, I called the news reporter, I blew the whistle, and I moved across the country, and I vowed from that moment on that I was going to do absolutely what was best for my clients, no matter what. So I became a holistic health practitioner, studied functional medicine. I opened up a sports performance facility in Silicon Valley. And now here we are online. I'm the founder of Preventative Healthcare Coaches, and we help people who work high-stress jobs, high-impact jobs, people who work really, really long hours. We help them feel 10, 15 years younger and get bodies that they love, be strong and be resilient. So that's my story in a nutshell, just the, 2-3 versions. So, yeah, thanks for asking. I've been all in on this for over half of my life, and it's been a beautiful ride.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you said shit, that must have been a traumatic experience, like to have cancer at 14.
It was a butt pucker moment. Yeah, I would be remiss if I told you that I wasn't scared at points, but it actually affected my parents a lot more than it affected me. So
you didn't kind of realize the scale of it, or?
Well, it's actually it was 16 years ago and 1 week away. So around this time of year, I always kind of reflect on this. It was 16 years ago, December 2nd. Yeah, 16 years cancer-free. I remember I basically got kicked in the nuts like 4 years in a row. So, cancer, then meningitis, and just all this shit. So I always reflect on that. But I remember, getting the answering machine message. This is back when you had the answering machine tapes when people would call your house phone. Mm-hmm. And, they gave us the diagnosis over an answering machine. And I had just gotten back from the hospital. I broke my arm skateboarding. My mom picks me up from the hospital. And the answering machine message said, okay, Ryan, you have cancer. You had to come in for treatments. Like, the things that we biopsied and we took off you, they turned out to be cancerous. So, and then my mom just lost it. And I don't know what it was, but I could see how distraught she was. And I don't know if I was just numb or shocked or surprised or what, but I made a statement to kind of comfort my own mother in her crying and her being so upset about it. And I said, Mom, don't worry. I'm not going to die. And I just remember that moment. I don't know if I said it to comfort her, but I really also made that declaration inside that, okay, this isn't going to wipe me out. And After that, I got so into fitness and so into, bodybuilding and martial arts and sports performance
Yeah,
that,
you have a very strong why. You
yeah,
knew the other side of the coin. You value your health.
I do. Yeah. This is one of the first years in a long time that human life expectancy is down. Human fertility
Really?
is down.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Human fertility is down. Human life expectancy is down. In the West, at least. So, yeah, it's absolutely.
What's the age now? 80?
It's down just a little tiny bit. It's down just a little tiny bit. I don't have the exact statistic on what the expected age is, but I was just seeing that the other day, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know,
It's
people.
weird because with the technology and with all the I don't know all the things we have right now, it should be going up, not going down.
I know, pisses me off, but that's just the
Yeah,
statistics.
that's why we need people like you to show us the way.
Well, thanks. I'll do what I can. And what I find to be so interesting is that everybody's body is unique, everybody's life is unique, and there's a huge difference between advice and opinion.
Yeah,
So what I love is that if you can really help somebody find a way to be their own advisor, to listen to their own feedback, that is what actually sets them free and helps them get healthy and stay healthy.
yeah. So
I've had people get to less than 10% body fat on a high carb diet and less than 10% body fat on a zero carb diet. So it's like everybody's different. We're just
yeah,
as different on the inside, as we are on the outside.
yeah. So what's a common myth about health in general? Like, what's a common myth people believe that's totally wrong?
Oh, damn.
I know there's a lot. Like the biggest one, for example.
Well, I really think the biggest thing that we keep running into again and again is what we call remedial change. It's kind of the this for that attitude. Like if I take
Mhm.
this supplement, I'm going to have this result. If I eat this food, I'm going to have this result. But it doesn't always work that way. So I think the biggest myth really is kind of what I was talking about. There's no one size fits all. And this is really the direction that health on the cutting edge is taking in. Like, you can give somebody some generic advice like, eat right and exercise or drink 8 ounces of water, 8 times a day. The
Yeah.
generic health advice, it actually can be damaging because people don't see the results. It's not specialized to their body and they get discouraged.
Do you think it needs to always be specialized, or do you think there is like some things that would work pretty much every time?
There are some things where it all counts, but for example, the way that a lot of people train, sometimes the way that people are training their bodies in the gym actually winds up creating more damage. And I saw this all the time with athletes, especially athletes who were also entrepreneurs, staying up late, working super hard, or they were athletes who were in school, is that it totally zaps their energy, their sex drive. Their training was actually making their body more damaged and they weren't healing and weren't recovering. We're finding out that, like, for example, the food pyramid is totally screwy. What the government recommends people eat to get healthy.
Yeah, especially like all the whole wheat and all of that. Like that's so bad. I read about that. I don't know if you're thinking about this or
Yeah, totally. And then, yeah, like I said, people are just as different on the inside as they are on the outside. So learning the way to interpret your body's feedback, every symptom, I think this is really the biggest myth. If I had to bust it and sum it up, is that you want to alleviate your symptoms, you want to get rid of them. Well, what we found to be true is that your symptoms are actually leading indicators of what's going on in your body. They're early warning signs.
yeah,
So if you have, fatigue, for example, it doesn't mean that you haven't drank enough coffee today.
true.
Yeah, there isn't one person, who has erectile dysfunction who's suffering from a Viagra deficiency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's why, it will always be personalized because your chemistry is going to change from day to day, from moment to moment. And if you suppress and you hide the symptoms, the signs of sickness, you're actually going to miss out on what you need to do to correct your course.
And so how do people can monitor themselves, those signs and those symptoms?
Sure. I mean, well, the most common things are actually the most common early warning signs are things that we consider to be completely mundane. No,
Like fatigue or things like that.
fatigue, joint pain, skin reactions. Those are the most common symptoms of inflammation, of damage to the body. So, it's like, okay, cool. My skin itches. Oh, it's just an itch. But what if it was a leading indicator of something that's agitating your digestive tract? Same
Yeah.
exact tissue as your skin. Skin issues typically start in the digestive system. So when you learn how to put it all together, you can actually correct that course.
Yeah.
I've seen people, have orthopedic issues and have no joint pain. And I have people who have tons of joint pain and no orthopedic issues. So this is why learning how to understand the symptoms and learning how to understand the feedback, that's exactly what we teach our clients to do. And not only does it get them their health back long term, they know exactly what to do. They could be traveling, going to a completely new different place, feel horrible, totally wiped out. As soon as they land, they know exactly how to get their body adjusted and they're rocking again.
Yeah. And I guess it should be like we should consult a specialist when we want to do that, because alone sometimes we can't figure out the real symptoms, or we can't figure out what to do ourselves. So it's better to consult a specialist like yourself.
And there's a lot of overwhelming information too. People are confused about this too. Everybody says go keto, or there's all these biohacking fads, or people are doing CrossFit and their bodies are just blowing out. I see all this happen all the time. People come to us after they've tried pretty much everything, but it really doesn't have to be complicated.
And what's the easiest fix, the most popular easiest fix that you give your clients or the people you work with?
Sure, absolutely. So the thing that helps people out the most, especially high performance people who do a lot of thinking, they do a lot of creative work, they have to think on their feet. The most important thing that I find helps people out is their ability to shut their mind off. And for most of us who have 30,000 thoughts a day, 60, 80,000 thoughts a day, it's easier said than done. But your body shows its early warning signs of stress and its breathing patterns. So if I could give one quick, easy fix that applies to everybody is, okay, when you are starting to breathe out of your mouth, you're becoming stressed.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's that's why you're also doing holistic health. It's part of I guess you do meditation practices, energy training, things like that, right?
Well, I've been a holistic health practitioner for 8 years, but I'm really controversial in that field. So rather than having people tune out and sit cross-legged on the floor, or put headphones in and listen to binaural beats, my approach is actually it's based on exercise, corrective exercise.
Okay.
So it kind of goes through like this, because I don't want you to go outside of your body. Your body is your mind. Your body is a physical representation of your consciousness. I don't want you to leave that behind. When you open up your mind, sometimes all kinds of crazy stuff crawls in. So I think a lot of people inherently are out of their body and they're ungrounded and they're in their head.
True.
So what we do is we can combine exercise in such a way that not only strengthens their body, makes them anabolic. It's literally like them it turns their body, it's similar effect on the body as being on steroids. We can put the body into an anabolic state. We call it working in. So most people work out. We teach our clients how to work in, and that puts their body into an anabolic state. It connects them with their breathing. It connects them with their movement, gets their joints into a proper orthopedic alignment. And what it does is it gives them a chance to meditate. It only takes, about 6 minutes a day, and it gives you an anabolic hormonal response.
Okay.
That heals and repairs your body. So I don't necessarily recommend people, do their meditations, because for some people, they just can't get rid of those thoughts, and rightfully so. You need those painful thoughts. You need those anxious thoughts. You need those concerns. you need those irrational phobias because they actually are there for a reason. They're there to help you survive and correct your course. So I'm not super big on meditation. That's why I'm a little controversial in this field. We want to use, movement and rest in the right way to build the person's body up. So
Yeah.
I haven't found a lot of high performance people to be, super zen, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm here in Northern California, like, tons of guys are walking around with man buns and, Dharma beats and stuff like that. But the reality is, how you show up on the inside is how you show up on the outside. If you have time to meditate and that works for you, awesome. I love it. But for people who are high performance, who are going all the time, it's really hard to meditate and work out. What I found to be most effective is to roll the two up. And it actually gives people a chance to reflect on their experience, to move through things. I can't tell you how many times I've had an athlete in the gym who's, maybe fighting with their girlfriend or wife or, just got dumped. And I see their strength go way down. And next thing you know, they strain a muscle or they pull a muscle. And I can tell they're distracted.
Yeah.
Well, these are the types, they're flooded emotionally. Well, emotions are energies in motion, and they absolutely affect your body, your physiology. Like, there's a fun test that we can do. There's a fun game that we can play with this to demonstrate this point if you're up for it. But making your body anabolic is one of the things that we use exercise for.
Okay.
We don't use it to make you punish yourself and eat pain for breakfast. But we haven't found that to be effective long term because people are more motivated by getting out of pain than they are extreme pleasure.
So you're not a huge fan of meditation. You don't practice meditation, for example, every morning. You don't sit quietly in a room and just focus on your breath every morning, for example.
I don't. I do it all day, every day. It's something that I'm constantly aware of, is my physiology, my posture, my body language, because I know the feedback. I know the feedback mechanisms. I know the early warning signs. I know if my heartbeat is racing, what that means and what I need to do to correct my course. It doesn't have to be something that I take myself out of the moment for. Like, hey, you're in a restaurant. You can't just go into a meditation in the middle of a restaurant.
Yeah.
You're at work, right?
That's why you do it. That's why you do it in the morning, for example, before you start your day.
Yeah, I do have one practice that I do engage in, and it's from the book Psycho-Cybernetics, which is amazing.
I have it from Malcolm. I don't know. Yeah,
I think Maxwell Maltz. He's a plastic surgeon.
Maxwell, yeah, something. With that.
And that is to just take a minute to to visualize what I want to be proud of the following day, and then I'll write that down, and that's my to-do list. So I use meditation to basically generate my to-do list. I think about what's going to make me feel excited, inspired, motivated, and I come up with 1 to 3 things to add to my day.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do, to list out. Yeah. So basically, you use meditation to come up with your to-do list of the most important things you do during the day.
Absolutely.
And then you train your body to you use anabolic training to actually meditate at the same time, like okay.
To process emotions.
Yeah.
Like if for example, if I'm doing a rep of an exercise and I start to hear my joints click, or you'll experience this stuff as you get older. If you guys are 35 plus, you'll start to experience this stuff, probably even in your 20s. But if you're doing a movement and all of a sudden you hear your shoulder pop, or you hear your ankles click and crack as you go up and down the stairs. Well, what if that was just a sign of things that were going on in the background? Thoughts, emotions. Those are
Yeah.
physical manifestations of being in a stress state, and which breaks your body down. A lot of people talk about chronic stress, chronic inflammation, and high cortisol. That's ultimately controlled by your adrenal glands, your kidneys, and your brain. The part of your brain that holds your identity.
True. What do you think about cellular memory and epigenetics, for example? Are you familiar with that, epigenetics?
Yeah, and I want to stack one other concept on this. There's a lot of different people who've been looking at this. There's the family constellation therapy. I don't necessarily believe that you are bound, to your family history.
Mm-hmm.
The way that epigenetics works, and that nobody really talks about, is that your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. Yeah.
And this is where creativity comes in too, guys. It's because, all right, cool, you had a past trauma, like, for example, you might have, a parent who's, bipolar, or I'm just using my own example, but you could take a traumatic experience and use that to find creativity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the purpose of trauma, of family, family trauma, family patterns. So you're not doomed to your genetics. Like, if you buy that it's bad genes, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the way I look at epigenetics, and, like, for example, a lot of people have, the BRCA2, like the breast cancer gene. That doesn't mean you should go, women should chop their breasts off. Like, that's what they're recommending that people do if you have this gene. Or, so you have the Alzheimer's gene. You find out you have the Alzheimer's gene, and you sit around and you think, oh my God, I'm going to be doomed. Oh my God, I'm going to be doomed. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my memory. Oh my God, I'm going to. No wonder you can't find your way home. No wonder you're driving and
thoughts creates your reality. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just want to, with epigenetics, it's okay, cool. It's a powerful tool. And yeah, obviously our environment is changing, but we need to be aggressively adaptable to that environment, because ultimately our decisions and our lifestyle will influence the expression of those genes.
Yeah, I heard once behavior is a function of people times the environment.
I would absolutely buy that, but I'd like to take it one step higher.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We were talking about psychocybernetics, right? He talks about giga, garbage in, garbage out. Well, even higher than your environment is your perception.
Yeah, also true. It's a big one. Yeah.
So key. So, on that whole mindset level, the highest level is your perception. That's the input. One person sees a banana duct taped to the wall and they want to pay $120,000 for it at a modern art show.
Oh, yeah, you saw the Miami Art Basel thing, yeah.
Perception, right? Like,
yeah.
What makes something good, what makes something bad is entirely related to the perception. Like, there are people who have completely different moral, ethical, legal views than I do. Okay, great. Let's see how that pans out for you.
And a person wouldn't change something in themselves if they don't change their identity first. A person wouldn't stop smoking if they see themselves still as a smoker. They have to disconnect from that identity first.
I do agree. I think this is one of the weak links also of self-help is, there's a paradox here. To heal from something, you have to identify that it's a problem.
Yeah, awareness.
Right. But also, to heal something, you have to let go of the emotion and the pain and even the elation of that same exact thing that you're confessing to yourself, that same thing that you have awareness of. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So I just have a question. What do you think is the best diet in your opinion? If you had to advise to someone a generic diet, what would it be? Because you mentioned keto. What, you don't like keto?
Well, I have people who come to me on a keto diet with irritable bowel syndrome, no energy, dark circles under their eyes. I have a guy who was on keto diet, no sex drive. So first off, there's no one size fits all. I've had people from, Jamaica, India, Southeast Asia, Philippines come to me on keto diets, very, very sick. Also, yeah, there's no one size fits all. So as far as diet advice goes, I just want to point out, everybody gets lost in proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, the macronutrients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your brain uses 80% of your body's available blood sugar.
Yeah.
So I want to point that out. So everybody has a ratio of macronutrients that's going to get them absolutely ripped, total cognitive performance, absolute mental clarity, absolute hormonal balance, like great poos, great sex drive, great energy. And like I said, I've had people get to less than 10% body fat on a high carb diet and less than 10% body fat on a zero carb diet.
So it always depends on the person.
It depends on their genes, their makeup, their habits, the climate that they're in. Like, for example, I'm in Southern California right now, and it's a little bit warmer than where I live. Where I live is normally like 40s, 50s, and 60s temperature-wise. Mm-hmm. And I surf and I swim in cold water. I'm basically a carnivore. Yeah, so as far as generic diet advice, the most important nutrients, guys, write these down: air, water, and sunlight.
Yeah, the basics.
Those. So if I want to give nutritional, advice, air, water, sunlight. Go outside, filter your water, the water that you drink, the water that you shower in. Filter that. That's going to help you heal your microbiome, heal your gut. Go outside, get the sun on your skin. When it comes to managing your hormones, when it comes to managing your stress levels, your ability to pull that out, very basic unit of the cell is a light-sensitive bacteria called mitochondria.
Yeah.
So you need sunlight, you need oxygen, you need water. Those are the most important nutrients.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like most of the diseases we have comes from our gut biome, microbiome, right?
Sometimes. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to every rule. I have a good buddy of mine who is a gut health specialist. He's in Portugal. He just put up, it's super classic. I mean, Hippocrates said it thousands of years ago, all disease begins in the gut. The interesting thing about the gut is it's continuous with the skin. Whatever starts off outside of the body ends up inside of the body through the gut. The big problem that we have, it's not necessarily that all diseases originate in the gut, but the gut will express stress and strain in nearly every part of the disease process. So what's really happening with people when they're having gut health issues is, this is going to sound gross, but it's just the reality, is when the gut lining is damaged, it's releasing feces into the bloodstream. And then the immune system attacks those particles to try to get them out, and that creates a low-level allergic reaction. That's what's happening with people who are having loose stools, chronic inflammation, brain fog, autoimmune diseases. It's an early warning stage of cancer. Here in the United States, people are calling out of work sick for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, more often than they are for the common cold. So
it's also because of it's mostly because of their diet. As you said, you mentioned the food pyramid. I guess a lot of people don't have the right pyramid in place. They eat too much carbs, gluten, wheat, things like that, right?
Sometimes. But like I said, like I've had people, get ripped eating carbohydrates. So
yeah.
Because, the gut bacteria will feed off of that. And so this is why I emphasize sunlight, air, and water, right? Because the water actually really does make a huge impact on the gut biome. What happens if you bleach your kitchen counter? Kills all the bacteria.
Yeah.
Well, we add chlorine to purify water.
Mm-hmm.
So you're drinking tap water and you're showering in tap water, you're essentially bleaching yourself. And that's basically like being on low-level antibiotics all the time. Yeah, if I give generic nutrition advice, it'd be to filter your water, even the water that you bathe in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you must have like you buy filters for your even for your shower.
I do at home. I do at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in a hotel right now, but yeah, if somebody's having digestive system issues, skin issues, chronic health problems, low energy, it's not the time to go jump in a hot tub.
Yeah. Okay. You're the first person recommending that I heard, like filtering also the shower water. But it makes sense. Like it's true that sometimes the water that's unfiltered can have like a lot of things affecting your skin and your microbes.
And your brain.
Your brain. Yeah.
It connects the brain and the digestive system together through something called the vagus nerve. And this is very, very important. So your vagus nerve basically dictates whether your body is going to build up or it's going to break down.
Yeah, that's the biggest nerve that's connected to your gut, right? From your gut to your brain.
Yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has a few other really important organs on there. The gonads, your nuts or your ovaries, depending on who's listening. Has your gut, has your thyroid as well, which regulates your energy level and your body's ability to get rid of infections. All this is hardwired together. It's like you ever plug? I know that this happens all the time in Europe. You ever plug too much stuff in? Like you got your phone charger, you got your laptop charging, right? And you're in the hotel room, and then you turn on the automatic coffee pot. That thing that boils the water,
Yeah.
and then you lose power. The same thing happens along the vagus nerve. So say you do have something damaging the digestive lining in the stomach, boom, you just tripped a circuit breaker, and then the thyroid, the gonads, the parts of the brain, they all go down in that same reaction. Just like if you overload the circuit breaker. If you overload one of the organs along the vagus nerve, it will begin to affect those. And actually what's even more interesting is every muscle shares nerves. So, that vagus nerve is innervated through the spine. So muscle groups and parts of your back are also affected by the organs.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are the things that we teach our clients how to listen to, so that not only can they, get strong, resilient levels of health, but they can solve their own symptoms. They can listen to that and they can adjust themselves and correct their course. And that's really the key to empowering someone towards their health. I don't want to give people my advice and my opinions all the time. I want them to be able to make the distinctions and the decisions for themselves. I want to give them the tool to learn their own physiology, their own biology. It's way more fun for both of us. And it actually sets them free to do what they want in life, whether that's, run their business or date or whatever that is.
True. So how do people can work with you? Like if someone comes up to you, what would you propose?
Yeah, probably the best thing to do is, we teach a 45-minute workshop. You can check us out online. Our website is preventativehealthcoaches.com. You can check us out. You can find us online. There's a 45-minute training that you can watch, or there's a quiz that you can take. But I recommend you check out the 45-minute training. It talks about the 5 things that we teach our clients to do. Most of the health research is about what sick people do, and it doesn't really help people. This is, 5 things that people who get their health back, reverse inflammation, have incredible energy. It's the 5 people who recover their health for the rest of their lives, that they do better than anybody else. And that's what we teach. After that, if you're like implementing, then we jump on a call. And, if we can help you, we lay all that out. We talk about where you're at in your health, where you're stuck, what your story is, how you need your body to look, feel, and perform. And if we can help, that's awesome. Sometimes we send people out to, like you might actually need some other type of specialist. We'll tell you that too. So go to preventativehealthcoaches.com if you want to check that out. Watch the training, check out the quiz and the assessments to see, hey, is this something that I really do need to focus on? Like, do I need to take this kind of approach? And then, we take it from there. So we just want to love on you and give you the power, give you the tools to run your physiology, to run the own show. Because, you can't, one thing I just want to say though is, you can't hire someone or pay someone to get you healthy and continue to do the same things that are costing you your health. Some people don't value sitting in a room and, being in the dark and meditating. Some people don't value that. Some people value action and movement and activity and excitement. So the key to making this successful long-term, and I think this is what we teach this a lot in our training, that the workshop is, we need to make your health line up with your values. If not, it's always going to be something that, I'll get to it. It's not going to really inspire you. But if you can figure out a way, that's what we mostly help our clients do. So we help them find the way to make your health and your values line up. If you value, your family a lot, but you have to go to the gym on a weekday night to get healthy and to drop the weight because you're, quote, doing it for them, that's not going to last so long.
Yeah. Great point.
It's going to last a couple months at the most. Yeah. So, if you guys want to check us out, preventativehealthcoaches.com. If you want to book an appointment, it's phcare.me. But check out the training first. Make sure it's something that, make sure this is something that's right for you first.
I was wondering, first of all, what practice or habit you stopped doing recently or a few years ago that was hindering your health? Can you give us, for example, a practice or a habit that you felt was actually hindering your health, but that you were doing a few years back?
I got to be 100% honest and transparent. I wish this one came up a little bit earlier. Dude, the one thing that affects my health and my physiology more than anything else, to be 100% honest, is relationship stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I'm fighting with a business partner or a girlfriend, or my parents are in trouble, that affects my performance more than anything else.
Yeah, because it's the hormones, it's the chemistry, it changes the chemistry of.
It changes the chemistry. It changes the perception. It changes the habits. I mean, so yeah, the one thing that I would say affects human performance the most is our social rank and our role in relationships. That is something that I've seen time and time again, and I've experienced it myself. Amazing.
Yeah, it's totally true. And I was wondering also if you had 22 again yourself, because I'm 22. What would you tell yourself?
Oh man, well, when I was 22, I was actually doing essentially the same thing that I'm doing now.
That's amazing. You found your path really early.
I did. I started this when I was 19. So I remember what it's like to kind of, not really be in that proving yourself state, but, to position yourself as an expert, as a leader from a young age. So I remember what that's like to, to want to influence people and to want to make life better for others, to serve, to have that servant's heart.
Yeah. Make an impact. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I think if I could offer one thing to myself at that stage is you are intuitive. You are intuitive. You're getting feedback all the time. So your intuition, your ability to sense, your instincts, to go with your gut, to feel it, and to know how to listen to that is one of the highest gifts that you can give yourself. So I would say continue to hone your instincts, continue to hone your feedback mechanism.
Amazing. Yeah, true. Sometimes we don't listen to ourselves. Sometimes we just go with what society, our parents, what the environment tells us to do, and we don't, or even ourselves. We do things and then we regret it because we know deep inside that's not. We know deep inside what's true to us.
Well, guess what? If you continue to do that, I know you don't do that often, right? Because I know you're here as a young man on power, on purpose, with purpose. But to anybody listening, if you continue to do that, you will be faced with a major health crisis to correct your course.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it might be a divorce and then going into drinking. It might be, getting slapped in the face time after time. I mean, the meta-analysis on cancer, the SEER, Surveillance Epidemiology of End Results, cancer rates 1 and 2 by 2050. So if we continue to defy our instincts, if we continue to kill ourselves slowly and to cut ourselves off, that will be our downfall. If you look in the mirror and you look into your own eyes and you tell yourself a lie, you can feel that coming up from your gut to your esophagus, cutting off your nutrition, cutting off your food tube. It's called a hiatal hernia. So trust your instincts. You're going to be inspired. You're going to have a lot more energy. You're going to be a lot more clear and focused that way. If you go along to get along, if you make sacrifices because you think it's going to make other people happy, you're going to feel that in your gut. You're going to feel that changing your biology. And buckle up. So it's going to be a real rough ride health-wise. And you're not going to know why. And one of the things about an instinct is just because you're anxious or you're nervous about something is not necessarily a sign that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Don't fall into the
That's the paradox there. All right. But your instincts will tell you what's right. So fear does not mean don't listen to your instincts.
Yeah. Actually, what I say is that your resistance to doing things is actually your compass to go do them. For example, I give this example because I'm into dating, but your resistance to go talk to that girl is actually your compass to actually go up to her and go talk to her, because that's where growth is. Yeah, it's about doing the hard things also, and not caring too much about your short-term emotions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Emotions are different than instincts. So I love that, man. Awesome, Limo.
Thank you.
You're a star, man. I'd love to come back on and do this again. I hope you guys got some valuable insights. If you want to check us out, preventativehealthcoaches.com. Limo, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. See you. Take care.